So the first two problems want me to figure out the scale factor, identify an angle pair relationship, and then fill in a missing side length on a ratio and then solve for x. So A is asking me what the scale factor is. I always go from left to right. So I am going to take any pair of my matching sides except for the one with the x. So I'm going to do the 6 over 12 and then simplify that, which simplifies to 1/2. Then I want to look at angle Q and see which angle that matches up to. That matches up to angle A. QR goes to AB, as RS is going to go to BC. So I fill in that blank. Then I want to solve for x. So I am going to fill in what I have from those pieces. So I have QR is 6, AB is 12, RS is 4, BC is x. Then I want to go ahead and cross multiply to solve. So I'm going to have 6 times x. And then for the other side, I'm going to have 4 times 12. Six times x is still 6x. 4 times 12 is 48. Then I want to go ahead and divide both sides by 6, which gets me x equals 8. Okay. So, number 2, this is going to be my old one. This is going to be my new one, because you always go from left to right, unless it's got an arrow showing you otherwise. I'm going to take a pair of matching sides, so I'm going to do the 15 and the 10. I'm going to do 15 divided by 10, because I always do new over old. This is going to simplify to 3 halves. I could type this into Desmos if I did not remember how to simplify. So I could do 15 divided by 10, and then the square over square button turns it back into a fraction. Okay, so then I have the measure of angle M is congruent to the measure of angle L. I have HM goes to KL as something goes to HK. This is going to be GH. Solve for x, I fill in the numbers for each of those side lengths up above. So HM is 12, KL is x, GH is 10, and HK is 15. So then I want to go ahead and cross multiply. I'm going to have 12 times 15. Now I'm going to have 10 times x. I don't know 12 times 15, so I'm going to go to Desmos and type that in. Gets me 180. Then I can divide both sides by 10. I get x equals 18. Okay. The next 4 want me to decide if they're similar by angle, angle, side, 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 or side, angle, side, or not similar. This one, I have a pair of angles that has already been labeled for me. And then because it makes a bow type shape, I know that these opposite angles are congruent by vertical angles. So now I have 2 congruent angles in this picture. That makes this angle, angle. On number 4, I need to check to see if my ratio of the sides is the same. Actually, all I have is 2 sides. I need either 3 sides or 2 sides in an angle. So since I don't have an angle given to me, or a third side, this one is not similar. Number 5 is where I want to check my ratio of the sides, because I have 3 sets of sides. So this 20 is going to go with the 60. I'm going to make this one my old and this one my new. Remember, we do new over old. So 60 over 20 gets me 3. Then I'm going to have 39 over 13, which again gives me 3. And then I just need to check to make sure that last set of sides will give me what I want. I have 72 divided by 24, which again gives me 3. So this one is by side, 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 because I have 3 sets of similar sides. Number 6, I have 3 sets of sides, and technically this angle is the same. So I can either prove this one by side angle side or side side side. I'm going to do side angle side since I see that an angle is congruent. Then I just need to check to make sure that these line up. I'm going to do 60 divided by 20 to get 3. Then I'm going to do 39 divided by 13, which again gets me 3. So this is either side angle side, by the way I just did, or if I compare that third side, it could also be side side side. This one gives me a diagram and it tells me the two triangles are similar and to find the length of NE. So I want to put my matching sides together. This is going to be my old, this is my new. So the diagonals are going to go together. I'm going to have 5 over 15. And then the straight across sides are going to go together. I'm going to have x over 12. I want to cross multiply. So I'm going to have 5 times 12 and 15 times x. 5 times 12 is 60, and it equals the 15x. So then I want to divide both sides by 15. I get x equals 4. So same thing on number 8. I again want to find the length of NE. So I'm going to set up my proportions. This is my old, this is my new. I'm going to have the slanted sides together, so 52 over 78 equals x over 72. I want to cross multiply, so I'm going to have 52 times 72 equals 78 times x. I do not know 52 times 72, so I'm going to go to Desmos and type that in, which gets me 3,744. Then I want to go ahead and divide both sides by 78. Which gets us 48 for our final answer. Number 9 tells me that 2 trees are growing in a clearing. The first tree is 17 feet tall and casts a 10-foot shadow. The second tree casts a 35-foot shadow. How tall is the second tree? So this is going to be my old, this is my new. I'm going to set out my ratios. So I'm going to have the shadows together, so 35 over 10, and then the heights, x over 17. Then I want to cross multiply. I have 35 times 17, and it's going to equal 10 times x. So I can go to Desmos and type in the 35 times 17, which gets us 595. Equals 10x. I want to divide both sides by 10. And this question wants me to round to the nearest 10, so 1 decimal place. 595 divided by 10 is 59.5. Okay, number 10, same thing, 2 trees again. This time my first tree is 10 feet tall and has an 8-foot shadow. The second tree has a 10-foot shadow, and I don't know how tall it is. So, old and new. Then I want to set up my proportions. I'm going to have 10 over 8 equals x over 10. I want to cross multiply, so I'm going to have 10 times 10 equals 8x. 10 times 10 gets me 100. 8x stays 8x. Then I want to divide both sides by 8. I can go to Desmos and type this in, which gets me 12.5. Numbers 11 and 12 are asking me the value of a in each equation. What I do is subtract the angle from 90. So on number 11, I'm going to take 90 and subtract 32.4. Which gets me 57.6. And that's my final answer. So same thing for number 12. I'm going to take 90 and subtract 83.3. Which gets us 6.7. Numbers 13 and 14 are word problems. 13 says a fireman is standing on the ground trying to get into a window that is 10 feet high. And he's 4 feet away from the building. How tall does the ladder need to be? So the ladder is what's leaning against the building. This one, since I have 3 sides, I want to use the Pythagorean theorem, which remember is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is my hypotenuse along this side. So I'm going to go label this picture. A and B don't matter. C is the longest side. So I'm going to have 10 squared plus 4 squared equals x squared. 10 squared is 100. 4 squared is 16. So 100 plus 16 is 116. This equals x squared. Then I want to square root both sides. Which gets me 10 point, this is going to round to an 8. Okay. Number 14 tells me that there's a cat stuck in a tree that is 16 feet tall. And Susan wants to rescue from 5 feet away from the tree. How tall does that ladder need to be? So again, I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. I have A, B, and C. So I'm going to have 16 squared plus 5 squared equals x squared. 16 squared is 256. 5 squared is 25. X squared is x squared. Then I want to add 256 and 25. Which gets us 281. I want to square root both sides. Which gets us 16.8. Okay. This next one wants me to find the value of the variable and round to the nearest tenth. These ones are using our trig function, so I want to use SOHCAHTOA here. This is the angle I care about, so this is going to be opposite. This one without the number is hypotenuse, and this one with the number is the adjacent. On this one, since I only have an O and an A, this H isn't important, I'm going to use tangent. So I'm going to have tangent 19 equals x over 11. Then I want to get x alone, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 11. Then I have 11 tan 19 equals x. So I can go to Desmos and type that in. Which gets me 3.8. So same thing in this one. This is the angle I care about. This is the opposite. This is the adjacent because it's touching that angle. This is my hypotenuse. Again, I don't have my hypotenuse, so I'm going to use tangent. I have tangent 28 equals x over 15. To get x alone, I want to multiply both sides by 15. That is going to give me 15 tangent 28. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and type into Desmos. Which is going to give me, if I round to the nearest tenth, that would be looking at this 7 to round up that 9, which is going to turn this into 8.0. Number 17 tells us a string is used to tie down an inflatable decoration. The distance to where the string is staked into the ground is 5 inches, and the angle of elevation is 22 degrees. Find the length of the string. So the string is the slanted part. So on this one, if I label, this is my adjacent, this is my hypotenuse, this is the opposite. So the letter I'm not using is O. So that means this time I'm going to use cosine. So I'm going to have cosine 22 equals 5 over x. Then I want to go ahead and get that x out of the bottom of the fraction. So I'm going to multiply both sides by x. So I have x cosine 22 equals 5. Then I want to get x alone, so I'm going to divide both sides by cosine 22. So I get x equals 5 over cosine 22. Then I can go ahead and type that into Desmos. Which gets me 5.4. This was inches. Okay. This next one tells me that she is flying a kite. The kite is 13 feet away from her horizontally, and it has an angle of elevation of 35. What is the length of the string of the kite? So again, it kind of looks like the same as above. I have my adjacent, I have my hypotenuse, I don't care about my opposite, so this is going to be, again, cosine. So I want to start off by getting the x out of the denominator. I have x cosine 35 equals 13. Then I want to get the x all alone, so I'm going to divide both sides by cosine 35. That gets me x equals 13 over cosine 35. Oops, 35. Which gets me 15.9. This one was measured in feet. Okay. These want me to find the measure of A. It gives me all three angles, or all three sides, so I can use whichever I want. I personally like using sine, so that is opposite and hypotenuse. I'm going to write out sine of theta equals 8 over 17. Then to get theta all alone, I use the inverse sine. So that will cancel out on the left side, and I just have theta equals sine inverse 8 over 17. So I can go to Desmos and type this in. If I go to function, there is the sine inverse, and then I just do 8 divided by 17 to get 28.1. Over here, my A is in the top corner. This is my opposite. This is my adjacent. This is my hypotenuse. I like using sine, so I'm going to use sine again. I have sine of theta equals opposite over hypotenuse, so 33 over 65. Then I want to multiply both sides by sine inverse to get the angle all alone. That is going to cancel out on my left, so I have theta equals sine inverse 33 over 65. I can go to Desmos and type that in. Which gets me 30.5. Okay. Numbers 21 and 22 are asking me to find the sum of the interior and the exterior angles of the polygon. Exterior is always 360. So I can already tell that both of these, my exterior is going to be 360. For my interior angles, I want to use the formula n minus 2 times 180. So if I take a look at number 21, I want to count how many sides it has, because that's what the n stands for. I have 7 sides, so I'm going to do 180, I don't know why I put that one in the parentheses, times 7 minus 2. So I can go to Desmos and type that in. Which gets me 900 degrees. So I can do the same thing for number 22. I'm going to count up my sides. I have 8 sides, so I'm going to do 180 times 8 minus 2, and type that into Desmos. Which gets me 1080. This one wants me to find the value of x, so I'm going to have to use the 180 times n minus 2 formula, and then set it equal to that. So this one has 4 sides, so I'm going to do 180 times 4 minus 2. Which gets me 360. So I know that all of my angles on the inside are going to add up to 360. So I have 56, 125, x, and 115. I want to combine like terms. So I want to add those 3 numbers together, the 56, the 125, and the 115. Which gets me 296. Then I want to go ahead and subtract 296 from both sides. Which gets us 64 for our final answer. So same thing on the next one. I need to count up how many sides there are. There are 8. So I'm going to do 180 times 8 minus 2. From the other side, I know this is 1080. So then I'm going to have 1080 equals, and then I'm going to add up everything on the inside. So I have 6x, 102, 132, 132, 6x, 124, 140, 119. So I want to add all of the like terms together. I still have 1080. I have a 6x and a 6x, which is going to give me 12x. Then I have 102, 132, 132, 124, 140, and 119. So I'm going to add those together on Desmos. Which gets us 617. Then I want to go ahead and subtract 617 from both sides. Which gets us 463. Hold on. I missed a 132. So actually get us 749. So 749 should have been the number I subtracted. Which gets us 331. Then I want to go ahead and divide both sides by 12. Which gets us 27.6. Numbers 25 and 26 want me to solve for x and y. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and remember that opposite sides are congruent. I'm going to have 16 equals 3x plus 4. Then I want to subtract 4 on both sides to get 12 equals 3x. I'm going to divide both sides by 3. I get x equals 4. Then in parallelograms, opposite angles are congruent, so I can set those two equal to each other. I'm going to have y minus 60 equals 56. I want to add 60 to both sides, and I get y equals 116. So then I want to do the same thing on number 26. I have the opposite sides are congruent on a parallelogram. So I'm going to have 2x plus 9 equals x plus 11. Then I want to go ahead and subtract x on both sides. I get x plus 9 equals 11. I can subtract 9 on both sides. I get x equals 2. And then, since this is again a parallelogram, I can take my opposite angles and set those equal to each other. So I'm going to have 106 equals 3y plus 19. Then I want to go ahead and subtract 19 on both sides. I can go to Desmos to figure this out. Which gets me 87. Then I want to go ahead and divide both sides by 3. So I can go to Desmos and divide 87 by 3. Which gets me 29. Number 27 tells me that the three vertices of parallelogram DEF are 2, 3, negative 5, 2, 6, 6. Wants me to find the coordinates of F. So I'm going to go grab a piece of graph paper and then graph these points. Shouldn't have covered up my points. So I'm going to start off by drawing my coordinate plane. My first point is 2, 3. My next point is negative 5, 2. And then 6, 6. Okay, so here are my points. What I can do is I can find the distance from here to here, which is over 4, up 3. And if I do the same thing from point E, I go over 4, up 3. This will give me my new point F, which is negative 2, positive 5. So my answer for number 27 is negative 2, positive 5. I can do the same thing for number 28. So I'm going to again start off by drawing a coordinate plane on my graph paper. Okay. I have negative 2, negative 4. Then I have 5, 1. I have 0, -2. Okay, so this one I am going up to right 2 from D to G. So I want to go up to right 2 from E to find my F, which is going to be 7, 3. Okay, number 29 wants me to describe the parts of the circle. So I have JE, which is right here. That is going to be a radius, because it goes out from the center to the edge. The next one I have is KH. That one is just touching 2 edges of the circle, but not going through the center, so this is a chord. The next one I have is CF. So this touches the circle on one point on the outside. This is a tangent. The next one I have is KG. This goes from end to end on the circle and goes through the center. So this one is a diameter. The final one I have is FH, which goes through the circle, not through the center, and goes on forever. This one is a secant. This one wants me to find the measure of each arc. The first one I want to find is EF. So this one right here. I can see that EB makes a straight line, and I know that FAB is 60. So I'm going to do 180 minus the 60 to get the measure of the arc length of EF. 180 minus 60 is 120. The next angle I need to find is ED. So this one right here. To find that, I have, this is 52, this square means 90, and then this pink part is going to make 180. So I'm going to do 180 minus 90 minus 52 to get the measure for ED. So I am going to go type that into Desmos. I have 180 minus 90 minus 52, which gets us 38. And then my final one is FCD. So this part right here. What I can do is I can add up all 3 of those angles. So I'm going to have 90 plus 52 plus 60. And that should give me that arc length right there. So if I go back to Desmos, I can add those all together. Which gets me 202. Okay. On number 31, I have AB that I'm looking for. This one is vertical angles with the ED, so that's going to be 55. The next one I want to find is BC. So because I know this makes a 90-degree angle with AB, I just need to subtract the 55 from 90. Which gets us 35. Then I have BED, which is all of that. From A to D is 180, and then I add the 55. Is the camera going to work? So I can go to Desmos and add that. Which gets me 235. On number 32, I need to find the smaller angle, so I want to divide by 2. I'm going to take 84 and divide by 2. gets me 42. 33, I'm going the opposite way, so I want to multiply by 2. So I'm going to take 67 times 2. Which gets me 134. On these ones, since they're inside a circle, opposite angles add to 180. So I'm going to have z plus 80 equals 180. Then I can subtract 80 on both sides. I get z equals 100. Then I'm going to have y plus 120 equals 180. Subtract 120 on both sides. I get y equals 60. So same thing on number 35. Opposite ones add to 180. So I'm going to have y plus 68 equals 180. I want to subtract 68 on both sides. I get y equals, this one I can't do in my head. $112. Then I'm going to have x plus 82 equals 180. I want to subtract 82 on both sides. I get x equals, let's go back to decimals, 98. On 36 and 37, it wants me to find the center and the radius of my circle. Remember, the standard form of the circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where hk is my center and r is my radius. So it's opposite the signs for the center. So it's going to be positive 3, negative 1, and then my radius is the square root of the end number. So the square root of 16 is 4. Same thing for number 37. My center is opposite the signs. So instead of being a positive 2, it's going to be a negative 2. And instead of a negative 2, it's a positive 2. My radius is the square root of the end number, which the square root of 256 is 16.